Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really incredible science-backed toolkit designed to help you completely reclaim your attention and finally learn how to focus your mind. If you're constantly battling digital distractions or just feeling that heavy mental fatigue by mid-afternoon, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive into this. Why exactly can't we focus? I mean, it's a question we ask ourselves every single time we find ourselves mindlessly scrolling instead of, actually finishing that important project. Well, the truth is, our modern brains are just totally overstimulated. We're bombarded with notifications, open tabs, and endless streams of information. We don't actually have a focusing problem. We have a deciding problem. We live in an environment that constantly pulls our attention in a million different directions, which makes it incredibly difficult to just choose one single thing and stick with it.
And that brings us to a massive myth we really need to dismantle right now, and that's multitasking. Multitasking is quite literally just ineffective cognitive overload. It doesn't make you faster, it just drains your brain. The author James Clear points out something really profound here. True focus isn't just about trying super hard to look at one thing. It actually requires the ruthless elimination of all other options. Focus can only occur when we've said a definitive yes to one option and a hard no to absolutely everything else in that present moment. Single tasking is the only real path to high performance.
So here is our agenda for today. First, mastering your internal state. Second, optimizing your physical environment. Third, the Pomodoro technique. And fourth, deep work and downtime. We're going to take a true inside-out approach, moving from the smallest unit of focus inside your body all the way out to macro career strategies.
Let's start with part 1, mastering your internal state, or fixing the mind first.
To get there, like I said, we have to take an inside-out approach. Before we can organize our to-do list or clean up our desks, we have to recognize that focus is deeply biological. Mindfulness isn't just some buzzword. It's actually the specific mechanism that pulls your cognitive resources right back to the present task, and it stops that automatic rumination. When your mind wants to wander off into those anxious loops about the past or the future, this present-centered awareness acts as an anchor that physically grounds your physiology.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that number, 20,000. That is roughly the number of breaths you take every single day. But think about it. Out of those 20,000 breaths, how many are actually intentional? Probably very, very few. Our breath is one of our most accessible energy sources and a massive tool for relieving stress, but we just completely ignore it.
To fix that, we can use a super effective technique recommended by Northwestern Medicine called box breathing. It goes like this. You inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. I highly encourage you to try this with me right now as you're watching. Just a few cycles of this precise, structured breathing actually activates your body's parasympathetic nervous system. That's your rest and digest mode. It physically lowers your heart rate and clears your mind, creating the absolute perfect biological canvas for deep focus.
Moving on to part 2, optimizing your physical environment, or designing for focus.
So if your mind is calm but your immediate workspace is a chaotic disaster, your brain is still going to struggle to reduce that cognitive load. Let's fire through some specific environmental enhancers based on research highlighted by LifeAt. First up, maximize natural light. It regulates your circadian rhythm and cuts down on fatigue. Second, dial in your audio. Total silence can actually be a bit unnerving, but white noise or nature sounds can perfectly mask pesky distractions. Third, utilize color psychology. Studies show that working in a blue room actually increases accuracy and deep thinking, while green environments reduce anxiety. And finally, eliminate visual clutter. Visual clutter literally harms your brain's processing capacity because your eyes are constantly scanning all those irrelevant objects around you.
Oh, and whatever you do, don't forget the thermostat. A truly fascinating Cornell study found that the absolute optimal temperature for productivity is right between 70 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Get this, when office temperatures drop too low, employees make an astonishing 44% more typing errors. 44%! Your body essentially wastes all of its focusing energy just trying to keep you warm.
All right, let's hit part 3, the Pomodoro technique, thinking in tomatoes. Now we're getting into behavioral systems. Invented in the late 1980s by a university student named Francesco Cirillo, you likely already know this beautifully gamified method. You pick a task, set a timer for 25 minutes, work until it rings, and then take a 5-minute break. But here is exactly why it works so incredibly well. It forces us to deal with time as a concrete event, rather than this abstract, looming source of anxiety. It completely bypasses procrastination because you aren't committing to finishing some massive project, you are literally only committing to 25 minutes of effort.
Let's move to and see how this builds into part 4, deep work and downtime, macro-focus strategies.
Bridging the gap from those 25-minute tasks to lifelong career success brings us to a brilliant framework from computer science professor and author Cal Newport. He defines deep work as professional activity performed in the state of distraction-free concentration that pushes your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit. This is what creates new value and actually improves your skills. Now, we contrast this with shallow work, those non-cognitively demanding logistical tasks we do while we're distracted. Think constant emails, Slack messages, and endless status meetings. In our daily productivity narrative, deep work is absolutely the hero and shallow work is the villain actively stealing your potential.
Newport famously notes, the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At exactly the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. To achieve this level of focus, you might want to borrow Warren Buffett's famous two-list strategy. You write down your top 25 goals, you circle the top 5, and the remaining 20, they become your avoid-at-all-costs list. Excellence requires ignoring secondary priorities entirely, so you can reserve all your mental horsepower for that rare, highly valuable deep work.
Sometimes, though, doing deep work at your normal desk just isn't quite enough. Newport suggests leveraging what he calls the grand gesture. This is where you enact a radical change to your environment to signal immense importance to your brain. A famous example is Bill Gates, who takes isolated think weeks in a remote cabin just to read and ponder the future. By investing significant effort or completely changing your scenery for a task, you harness the power of novelty to drastically boost your concentration.
So the crucial point is this. Deep work is incredibly taxing on the brain. In fact, research suggests the human limit for true, intense deep work is only about 4 hours per day. That's it, just 4 hours. Beyond that, your ability to direct focused attention basically plummets. What this means is that to be a true master of focus, you also have to be a master of downtime. You literally cannot run your brain on empty.
And true downtime means actually stepping away. Think of it as productive meditation versus digital distraction. Productive meditation is taking a period where you're occupied physically, but not mentally, like going for a walk, taking a shower, or folding laundry, and just letting your unconscious mind chew on a complex professional problem. It is the absolute power of the pause. Digital distraction, on the other hand, like mindlessly scrolling your phone on the couch, is not rest. It is just shallow stimulation. Letting your brain actually rest in silence, that's a true superpower.
We've covered a whole lot of ground in today's explainer. But ultimately, it all comes down to a single provocative choice. What will you say no to today so you can finally say yes to your most important work? Focus isn't just about seeing clearly. It's really about ruthlessly eliminating the noise. Guard your time, protect your attention, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.